my mindset was always in jazz. I just didn't know it. I was the type of student. I started on the piano, and I used to try to play things by ear that I would hear, aside from my lessons that I was taking from Miss Thomas. And then I would start on the clarinet, and then I would be adding little notes in, you know, to like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or whatever. As we got into playing some John Philip Sousa and different concert pieces, I'd always add a little something, because I'd hear it, you know. And the band director would say, "Watson, stop padding the parts." And I just couldn't help. I'd hear it, and I'd have to play. I'd sneak it in, you know. And then, shoot, right around high school, my American history teacher, his name was Dave King, I'll never forget. He was a jazz drummer at night and taught history of the day at Central High School. I went to high school in Minneapolis. And he turned our second half of the year into jazz history and took us from the beginning up to the present, which at that time was around 1970. And I said, so that's what I am. I'm a jazz musician. There's other people out there that are just, that think like me and want to use their imagination. And I discovered Charlie Parker, and I was just taken by his aura, the aura of his sound, you know. There was when you heard him play, there was just this, I just know, I could just feel this aura around his notes of optimism. Even though when you read about him, it wasn't so much fun to be Bird, but he still had this optimism. And I started to hear that in many players. And then I was hooked. And I knew that I was born to be a jazz musician. Well, like I said, I started on piano, went to clarinet, and then I always, I really wanted to go from piano to saxophone. But the band director at the time and my dad, they teamed up on me and said that it'll make him a better musician if he starts on the clarinet, and then later he can add the saxophone. So I accepted that because I'd heard clarinet on the radio, you know, and back then you could hear a clarinet on the radio. There was a man named Ackert Bilk who had a hit called Strangers on the Shore, and he used a lot of vibrato. You hear it on AM radio. Then you had the other gentleman from Pete Fountain playing the clarinet, and you know, and Benny Goodman was popular. So clarinet was okay for me, you know. And but my dad, he played that tenor saxophone in the church, and I was always knew I wanted to play a saxophone one day. And so around 8th grade, something like this, I picked up the saxophone and started trying to play it. And I brought it home, and I was real nervous because my father was always very critical of people's sounds. You know, we hear saxophone on TV, he goes, "I don't like his sound," or "I really like his sound." He was a really big fan of Gene Ammons. So I had a tenor, and then a couple years later, the music department got some new saxophones, and the newest ones were the altos. And so I was attracted to this shiny, smaller saxophone, and I thought that it looked like a piece of jewelry to me. So I said, if I can make this sound so good, what a impression that would make, and how I would feel to play something this beautiful in my hands. And so from there, I became an alto saxophonist, and I practiced continually after that, you know. Before that, I was still practicing. I was practicing my clarinet, but I just shifted and I just started practicing and listening. That's the main thing. I started getting hip to different records. After I got with Charlie Parker, then I found, you know, Miles and Coltrane and the whole cast of characters. And in fact, I wore my neck strap every day, with or without the horn, for maybe 20 years. That was how I got dressed, and this would be part of my dress, whether I had the horn. And I said I was not going to take it off. until I felt that I at least got to a certain level. But this was on every day as a reminder of I need to get the horn. I need to get the horn. I mean, I went to the University of Miami, and I was a composition major, but I was fully engaged in their jazz program. And the thing about Miami is all the teachers could walk the walk. You know, they didn't just talk the talk; they could walk the walk. They pull out their horn and or get to the piano, and they demonstrate. So here's how it goes, like this. And I think that any program that you have teachers who are actually performing, because my horn is a great leveler, you know. It was something simple with a student, you know. He wants to give you some, maybe he's a little bit cocky or, you know, which it's okay, that's part of youth. So you just pull your horn and go, oh, can you do this? That shuts down a lot of riffraff. Oh, can you do this? Oh, well, that's nice what you're doing, but did you thought about doing it this way? Then everything is back under control. Then they go, okay, well, go back and work, you know? And I think that if programs, people like myself and Mulgrew and, you know, up in Michigan, they're bringing in cats who are on the road, Robert Hurst, and they're all at universities now. This is important so that the students can be around someone who's actually done it and has been to where they want to go. And also, like I say, can demonstrate, you know, instead of just up on the board chalking all the time, you know. You say, well, let me just show you something. It goes like this, and I can do it like this. It goes up and down, backwards and forwards. Then they know that it's real, and you got to do this, you know. There's no substitute for experience. Art used to say, somebody asked Art, did he study formally? And Art said, well, let me tell you something. We was at University of Miami. I was able to bring him back. And he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, you come here to get your diploma. You come with me to get your education. So for us, a place like Kansas City, our students are gigging a lot. So I think that really is really, I would think that's probably more important than what goes on in the classroom for our program. We're very lucky to be in a destination city like Kansas City. So there's always gigs. We kind of have a little quasi booking agency for our students. You know, we're booking gigs and sending cats out, leaders, and they, you know, solo piano, trios, quartets, quintets. So I think, you know, schools that have that are in some type of center, I would imagine here in Chicago, you know, the students that are really motivated have a chance to go out and play. And this is what makes it, I think, more than a classroom. When we get in town, we go to see Vaughn, you know, and he would go, okay, here comes the horses, you know. We're letting the horses out. Come on up here. You know, it was just so great. And then he would just play. Just to hear him play, he'd be kicking our ass, you know. Not because he was trying, he was just playing. And that was just like, we learned so much from that, you know. I remember when he was in Miami, Ira Sullivan, he used to have a thing every Monday at the Unity Church. And we would go over there, and he would just kick us up and down, you know, just by the sheer, you know, weight of his experience and his knowledge, you know, and what he played. That was like, you know, you could go run to them. You're right, you know, the Velvet Lounge. And but it seems like, you know, I think it goes in phases, you know, and I think that a student, if he has a true desire, you know, and a passion, I think that sort of brings things, brings opportunities to a person. So I'm, you know, I try to keep the students inspired and keep them, you know, passion. Because once they get that passion, then you don't really have to do much except just give them a little advice here or there, because they're studying, they're listening, they're practicing, you know, trying to play piano, the whole nine. You know. Hey now, I'm Bobby Watson, and I rock jazz. Check it out.